For Glenn Waverley.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And it's a pleasure to rise and speak on the National Energy Retail Law Victoria Bill 2024. Yet another piece of important legislative reform from the Allan Labor government that has been brought to this place in the recent months. From the outset, I would like to acknowledge the Minister for Energy here at the table for her leadership in this space, and indeed her entire team's work to make this package of energy reforms happen. Our reform agenda in the energy space has been as bold as it has been expansive, and it wouldn't be possible without the power of work put in by the Minister, her advisors and the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. And make no mistake about it, our record on energy speaks for itself, Acting Speaker. We are world leaders when it comes to the renewables transition. Since coming to government, we have tripled the share of renewable power generation, not by accident, but by strong intervention from our Labor government into the energy market, pulling all the levers to accelerate our transition from dirty, unreliable fossil fuels. We've held the country's largest reverse auctions of renewable capacity, installed the largest battery in the Southern Hemisphere, just mentioned by the member for Bellarine, Go Cats, and supported by 300,000 Victorian households with rebates to supercharge the uptake in rooftop solar. And the results are clear. We smashed through our 2020 renewable energy target of 20%, and we're well on track to meet our future targets, which is exactly why we committed to going even further in the lead up to the 2022 state election, with a 2030 renewable energy target raised from 50% to 65%, and by 2035, 95% of generation will be sourced from renewables. It is ambitious, and thanks to the Allan Labor government, we're getting on and making it a reality. Not with words, but with tangible action. We know that right now, the private multinationals which have made billions of dollars off the backs of Victorian families and businesses are getting up and leaving. That is an unmistakable fact. Their coal-fired power plants are getting old and breaking down, so they're packing their bags and they're leaving the market. It's why we as a government are stepping in and bringing back the State Electricity Commission, the body those opposites sold off back in the 90s in the depths of Kennett's privatisation era. It's a government-owned energy company that is investing billions of dollars into 100% renewable energy across our great state.
The member for Narracana on a point of order.
Point of order, Acting Speaker, on relevance. Jeff Kennett didn't start the privatisation, it was Joan Kirner.
There is no point of order. The member for Glen Waverley continue.
In doing so, there are three things that the new SEC is accomplishing. Firstly, it is supercharging our renewable energy transition, investing in more projects and more capacity in the system. Secondly, and consequently, it is going to drive down the power bills of Victorian households and businesses because more supply of renewable energy means lower prices. Of course, as a byproduct of our investment, it is supporting the creation of thousands of great union jobs across Victoria, including for traineeships and apprentices. And I know there is a power of work underway to establish the SEC Training Centre of Excellence. The three things, more renewables, cleaner energy prices and more quality union jobs, are a huge win for Victoria. And we're seeing it in action with the latest prices of the Victorian default electricity offer, down 6.4% for Victorian families and 7% for Victorian businesses, driven by cheaper supply from reliable renewable energy. And not only that, but the Victorian default offer is 16% lower than the average default market offer and lower than the national average of their default offer too. Long story short, Acting Speaker, it means more money back in the pockets of hundreds of thousands of Victorian households and businesses as a direct consequence of the investments in renewables from the Allan Labor government. It's very simple and, dare I say, not like splitting atoms. And Victorians are big fans of our bold energy policy agenda. I heard it on the doors out in Glen Waverley during the last election campaign, and I continue to hear it loud and clear when I engage with constituents on their doorsteps and at the train stations too. That's what we should be doing in this place for the Victorian community, and I'm proud to be part of the Allan Labor government that leads with that principle. And it is in the principle that applies to this piece of legislation before the House today. It's all about protecting Victorians' families and businesses from the failure of the market. Because when retailers collapse, Victorians shouldn't have to bear the consequences and be cut off from the energy they need. And that's what this bill is about. Since 2007, we've had the Retailer of Last Resort scheme that has worked well to ensure customers of failed retailers are quickly transitioned to another retailer and thus avoiding disruption of their energy supply. But with an increasingly complex market, we're committed to making the Retailer of Last Resort scheme stronger. This bill adopts the National Retailer of Last Resort scheme here in Victoria, providing a uniform and consistent framework for managing the collapses of retailers. So what does that actually mean, Acting Speaker? Well, here in Victoria, we have our own energy regulations managed and enforced by the Essential Services Commission, ensuring Victoria has some of the strongest consumer protections in Australia. But other states and territories have energy retail laws that are regulated by the National Energy Retail Law and monitored by the Australian Energy Regulator. This bill takes parts of the National Energy Retail laws and applies them to the Victorian regulatory system. More specifically, we're giving the Australian Energy Regulator the powers that the Essential Services Commission doesn't have, namely the ability to provide extra energy to the energy retailers of last resort. For example, if a Glen Waverley family buys their gas from a retailer that goes bust, not only will the Australian Energy Regulator have the power to seamlessly transfer the family over to the retailer of last resort, but it will also be able to provide that retailer of last resort with extra gas it needs to supply that Glen Waverley family. Because we know that when energy retailers have gone bust in the past, retailers of last resort suddenly have found themselves needing to supply a significant number of new customers at very short notice. It's all about ensuring supply is maintained, which is a win for consumers. It's an important piece of legislation and will go a long way to ensuring that we have the best possible consumer protections in place for Victorian families and businesses, especially in situations where energy retailers go belly up. Because on this side of the change, we're about getting on and delivering tangible benefits for the Victorian community. And if you would indulge me, Acting Speaker, our record couldn't be sharper in contrast to those opposites. When the Victorian Liberals last sat on these benches, electricity prices increased 34% and disconnections doubled to almost 60,000. They dumped the Victoria's energy reduction target. They all but banned wind farms with the strictest planning laws in the country. And in their last budget, they slashed funding to the energy and resources portfolio by almost 20%. While their record is clear, so is ours. We're leading the world with the transition to net zero, faster than the leaders like Norway, Denmark, Luxembourg and Canada. And we've more than tripled the amount of renewables generated in Victoria, and we're well on track to reach 95% renewables by 2035. We've brought back the State Electricity Commission that is investing $1 billion into renewable projects, and as a result, default offer bills are coming down by 6.4% for Victorian families in the new financial year. I'm proud to be part of the Allan Labor government that is believing in the climate science, taking action and delivering results for the Victorian community, and I commend this bill to the House.